Welcome to your Branch Out podcast, where we explore communication, markets, digital behavior, and business signals shaping Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and we have a really fascinating deep dive into the source material today.
We really do.
Yeah.
So if you are a founder or, an operator or communication lead listening to this right now, we are unpacking a massive, quiet shift happening across the region.
A very quiet shift, yeah.
Right, because we're moving out of that phase where AI was just this fun experiment. It is now becoming an invisible operational reality. But, and this is the kicker, consumer trust is lagging way, way behind the actual technology.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's basically become part of the foundational plumbing of business at this point.
Right.
We are looking at a landscape where hyperscalers are just pouring over $50 billion into AI-ready infrastructure all across Southeast Asia.
50 billion, that is just a staggering number.
Right. But to really grasp what this means for your daily operations, I mean, you have to look past the servers, you have to look at the human behavior.
Yeah, especially in markets where high digital literacy is kind of colliding head-on with the deep-seated lack of trust. So let's map out this macro reality before we zoom into the specific consumer behaviors.
Good idea.
Because when we talk about $50 billion in hyperscaler investments, we aren't just talking about abstract cloud computing anymore.
No, not at all.
We are talking about companies like Amazon Web Services, Google, Microsoft, literally laying physical submarine cables, buying up massive tracts of land in places like Johor, Malaysia, and, powering these enormous data centers locally.
And, well, the reason they are localizing that infrastructure is all about latency and data sovereignty.
Right.
Like, they are preparing for a load that is actually already here.
Oh, it's definitely here.
Yeah. I mean, recent McKinsey data shows that nearly half of surveyed companies in Southeast Asia have completely moved beyond running small AI pilot programs.
Half of them. Wow.
Half. They are in full deployment. And that actually puts this region slightly ahead of the global average for adoption, which is wild.
It is wild. But, I look at this regional adoption speed, and it really mirrors a pattern we've seen before in ASEAN.
Like the mobile shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have this historical habit of technological leapfrogging. Think about how we completely bypassed the slow desktop PC era.
Right. Nobody waited for broadband in a desktop.
No, we didn't wait for everyone to get a laptop. We jumped straight into a mobile-first super app ecosystem. And it feels like we're doing the exact same thing right now with enterprise software.
That is a really, really accurate parallel. We're completely bypassing the traditional kind of clunky software as a service adoption curves.
Right.
Instead, businesses here are leaping straight into what the industry calls agentic enterprises.
Okay, wait, let's break that term down for a second because agentic sounds a little bit like science fiction.
It does, yeah.
We aren't just talking about a chatbot that answers a customer's question.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We are talking about autonomous execution. So an AI agent in this context doesn't just give advice, it executes a multi-step workflow.
Give me an example of that.
Sure. So say a supply chain gets disrupted by a massive storm in Jakarta. An agentic system doesn't just ping an alert to the logistics manager.
Okay.
It automatically queries alternative shipping routes, calculates the new tariffs, drafts the updated vendor contracts, and then just holds them for a single human approval.
Wow.
Right. That level of deep operational integration is exactly what that $50 billion in infrastructure is supporting.
And what's crazy is that this shift isn't happening uniformly across the board. We are witnessing several different adoption speeds simultaneously.
Very true. It's super fragmented.
You have Singapore acting as the clear regulatory and governance hub, right? They're setting the standard for how these models should be audited.
Right, the governance framework.
And then Indonesia is utilizing its massive domestic population to rapid test these systems in live commerce and recommendation engines. Vietnam is accelerating through highly specific new AI laws that give businesses legal clarity.
And Malaysia, as we mentioned earlier, is rapidly becoming the physical data center hub.
Exactly. But, and this is the core of our deep dive into the source material today, all of that back-end infrastructure and regulatory framework means absolutely nothing if the end user looking at their phone screen actively distrusts the interface.
Yes, that is the exact friction point.
And nowhere is that friction more obvious right now than in Thailand. Thailand sits in this incredibly unique position.
It really does.
It is a market where consumers are highly fluent in digital tools, yet they exhibit highly uneven confidence when relying on automated systems for anything of, real consequence.
We are actually seeing wild contradictions in the latest consumer data out of Thailand. If you look at the landscape heading into 2026, based on the SCBX report, the baseline awareness of AI is over 90%.
90%, that's huge.
Massive. And on paper, 80% of Thai consumers are using AI regularly.
Okay.
They're using it to, translate menus, draft emails, or they're interacting with it passively inside their mobile banking apps.
Wait, I need to push back on that for a second. Help me understand that. If 80% of the country is already using it on a regular basis, shouldn't businesses just be popping the champagne?
You would think so, right?
Yeah, I mean, why are we calling it a trust gap if the adoption is incredibly high?
Because usage does not equal trust. And conflating the two is the biggest strategic error brands are making right now.
Usage does not equal trust. Okay, unpack that.
Yes, 80% of people will use an AI tool for low-stakes convenience. Translation, basic writing, that kind of thing. But when you segment that data, only 16% actually qualify as full potential users.
Only 16%.
Just 16%. Those are the people who actually trust the technology to handle complex, meaningful tasks. The vast majority of that 80% are treating the technology with extreme caution.
Okay, so what does the behavior of that cautious majority actually look like day to day?
Well, they fall into two distinct profiles that make up about 70% of the Thai market altogether. First, you have the smart minimalist, which represents roughly 36%. This user is actively fatigued by tech hype. They use AI only when it is the absolute path of least resistance, and they turn it off the second they don't need it.
So they just want utility, no flash.
Exactly. Then you have the skeptical practitioner, making up 34%. They're willing to test new AI features, but they approach the underlying systems with deep, deep suspicion.
In other words, they will happily let an algorithm recommend a Spotify playlist, but the second it asks to link to their bank account,
They close the app.
they close the app, yeah.
That is the exact boundary line. There is a very grounded historical reason for this anxiety. We have to look at the financial trauma in the region over the last few years.
Oh, the scams.
Yes. Thailand, like much of Southeast Asia, has been completely hammered by call center scams, line app impersonations, and really sophisticated SMS phishing.
It's been relentless.
Because of that environment, 60% of consumers are terrified that an automated system might trick them into transferring money to a suspicious account.
60%.
And another 59% fear that AI integrations actually increase their vulnerability to fraud or hacking that could, wipe out their life savings.
And 52% are just overwhelmed by complex investment terms. That context changes everything. It means the consumer isn't anti-technology. They are highly defensive.
Highly defensive. That's the perfect way to put it.
Which leads to a massive communication crisis for businesses. I mean, if you are a founder or an SME trying to scale your product in Bangkok right now, and your entire marketing campaign is shouting about your new flashy AI features.
You aren't impressing anyone.
Exactly. You're actually triggering their anxiety.
Yeah, you are telling them, hey, we have added a new black box to our system, while they are quietly wondering, is my data actually safe in that box?
Right.
Businesses are assuming that marketing technological sophistication builds authority, but in this climate, it actively degrades trust.
So they don't want to see the AI at all.
No, consumers don't want to see the AI.
Right.
They want the AI to run quietly in the background, reducing complexity and increasing their safety.
And this disconnect is incredibly apparent in how small and medium enterprises are communicating their value right now.
Oh, absolutely.
SMEs are actually adopting AI into their daily workflows much faster than large corporations because they just don't have those layers of compliance and bureaucratic red tape blocking them.
Right, they can move fast.
Yeah. A startup founder can decide on a Tuesday to start using an AI model to draft all their client proposals, handle their customer messaging, and generate all their LinkedIn thought leadership.
And structurally, that makes total sense for a lean team trying to save time.
It does.
But they are falling headfirst into what we call the communication trap. Because millions of businesses are using the exact same underlying large language models, using the same basic prompts, the output is homogenizing.
Yes.
Suddenly, 10 different boutique consulting firms or specialized logistics companies sound entirely identical.
It reminds me of, think about auto-tune in the music industry.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. When it first came out, it sounded flawless. It was this futuristic, perfect pitch. But very quickly, Every single pop song started using the exact same algorithmic filter.
Yeah, it got boring.
It stripped away all the soul, the breathing, the slight vocal breaks that actually make a voice human. And suddenly, audiences craved raw acoustic performances with all their imperfections. That is exactly what's happening with corporate communication in Southeast Asia right now.
That is a perfect parallel. We are seeing audiences develop an acute sensitivity to what we can call synthetic authority.
Synthetic authority. I like that term.
Yeah, they can spot the autotune in business writing. They notice the generic introductory paragraphs, the repetitive bullet point structures, and most importantly, the complete lack of specific, localized detail.
10 years ago, if a small firm could publish a perfectly formatted 5-page corporate strategy overnight, people were impressed by the efficiency.
Right, it was a competitive edge.
Now, if you deliver flawless but generic content in 10 seconds, it immediately looks suspicious. It feels cheap.
And we really have to place this within the cultural reality of Southeast Asia. Business here is deeply, deeply relational.
Oh, 100%.
Whether you are closing a deal in Jakarta, Manila, or Bangkok, trust relies heavily on visible human cues. Buyers look for a founder's distinct point of view.
They want to know who they are dealing with.
Exactly. They look for shared local context, a reference to a specific neighborhood, a recent local event, a shared cultural understanding. They look for accountability.
So if a founder is using AI to pump out like 3 generic thought leadership posts a day to boost their visibility, the algorithm might reward them with views.
But the human buyer is rolling their eyes.
Exactly.
They are actively burning their credibility. The baseline expectation now is that anyone can get a fast answer from a machine. What the market actually values and pays a premium for are clear explanations, unique perspectives, and authentic human effort.
Because if your communication sounds machine-generated, the local buyer assumes you simply don't care enough to build a real relationship with them.
Exactly. You're signaling that they aren't worth your actual time.
So let's look at how we fix this. We have diagnosed a pretty tough environment here. A market saturated with identical, fast AI content and a consumer base that is highly skeptical of the technology itself.
It's a tough spot.
How do decision makers actually adapt their operational and communication strategies to win back that trust?
Well, looking at the data on what actually moves the needle for skeptical consumers, it comes down to a specific framework. To win trust in this new reality, businesses must prioritize trust design, meaningful simplicity, and crucially, human validation.
Okay, let's break those down. Trust design is fundamentally about transparency, right? But not the legal kind.
No, definitely not the legal kind.
It's not about burying a data clause on page 40 of a terms and conditions document. It is about proactively explaining the mechanism at the exact moment of friction. If the app asks for a location, the interface needs to explain exactly why the AI needs that data to process the immediate transaction.
Exactly. Context is everything.
Yep.
And that flows directly into meaningful simplicity. This doesn't mean dumbing down the product.
Right.
It means using the AI to solve actual points of friction using natural language.
Yeah.
So instead of building a complex 12-step chatbot menu that just traps the user in a loop.
Which we've all experienced and hated.
Oh, it's the worst. Instead of that, you use the AI to instantly route them to the exact solution they need safely and quietly.
But I want to push back on the third pillar, human validation, or keeping the quote-unquote human in the loop.
Okay.
If I am a business owner, doesn't mandating a final human sign-off completely defeat the economic purpose of automating with AI in the first place? I mean, the whole pitch of enterprise AI is reducing headcount and scaling infinitely without human bottlenecks.
Yeah, and if you're viewing business strictly through the lens of Western efficiency metrics, then yes, inserting a human into an automated workflow looks like a failure of technology.
Right.
But we are operating in Southeast Asia. In this region, a final human confirmation is not a glitch in the software. It is the ultimate premium trust signal.
Because it proves that a real person is taking on the risk.
It is entirely about accountability. If an AI system recommends a business loan or an algorithmic security system flags a suspicious transaction, the Thai consumer wants undeniable proof that a human being reviewed that automated decision before it became final.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, they are perfectly fine with the AI doing the heavy lifting, sorting the data, running the risk models, doing the preliminary analysis, but the final sign-off requires a human pulse.
And that visible human friction is exactly how you bridge the gap between that 80% passive usage and that 16% full trust.
Exactly. It is about using the AI to empower the human's judgment, rather than trying to hide the human behind the technology.
And, this strategy ties directly into a broader technological shift we are tracking right now. AI itself is becoming deeply local.
Yes, the models are changing.
We are moving away from this total reliance on massive, generic, English-first large language models. Now we are seeing the rapid emergence of small language models, or SLMs, that are fundamentally localized.
This is a critical evolution for business operations in 2026. If you look at enterprise platforms rolling out agentic AI like Salesforce's Agentforce, for example, they aren't just deploying generic translation tools.
Right.
These SLMs are trained specifically to function natively in local languages and dialects, whether that is Thai, Tagalog, or Bahasa Indonesia.
What is the real mechanism there, though? Why does an SLM build more trust than a generic model just, translating English output into Thai?
Because language carries cultural context. It carries intent and nuance that direct translation just destroys.
Oh, completely.
A massive global model processes a prompt in English, applies Western logic, and spits out a literal translation. A locally trained SLM understands regional slang. It understands the polite particles used in Thai business conversation.
It feels local.
Yes. Furthermore, SLMs are smaller, which means they can run on those local data centers we talked about earlier in Malaysia or wherever, rather than sending sensitive financial data across the globe to a server in California.
So it's faster, it is more secure, and it is culturally literate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the downstream impact of that is massive, particularly for financial inclusion. Take Indonesia, for example, which has a massive underbanked population spread across thousands of islands.
Right.
Traditional banking interfaces, even mobile ones, can be incredibly intimidating. But when an AI agent can interact naturally in a specific local dialect, understanding exactly how people in that region talk about credit or savings, it completely removes the intimidation factor.
Because it proves to the consumer that the system understands their specific reality.
Exactly. Localization ceases to be just a feature. It becomes your primary growth strategy. The winning combination for businesses operating in Southeast Asia is undeniable.
You need both.
Yes. You absolutely need the operational speed and scale that AI provides on the back end. But on the front end, it must be paired with undeniable, highly visible human responsibility and local context.
We have covered incredible ground in today's deep dive into the source material, moving from, the $50 billion in physical infrastructure all the way down to the deep-seated financial anxieties of the Thai consumer.
It's all connected.
It really is. The through line connecting all of this is incredibly clear. The brands and founders that will dominate Southeast Asia over the next few years are not going to be the ones simply boasting about using the most AI.
No, because the market is already saturating with basic AI usage. Everyone will have it.
Right.
The real winners will be the organizations that use AI quietly in the background to handle the scale, so they can amplify visible human judgment in the foreground. They will use the technology to be more specific, more localized, and more accountable than their competitors.
It is the ultimate paradox of this technological cycle, isn't it? The more artificial intelligence we introduce into the corporate system, the more of a premium we place on authentic human signals.
It really is a paradox.
It brings us right back to that invisible infrastructure we discussed at the start. The goal isn't to force the consumer to stare at the pipes and marvel at the plumbing.
No.
The goal is to make the water flow so seamlessly and safely that they trust the house they're living in.
I love that analogy. This market is evolving at an unprecedented speed, but the real, sustainable opportunity belongs entirely to those who understand exactly how local trust is built before they try to aggressively scale their visibility.
It leaves you wondering, though, well, actually think about this. If visible human effort and that human-in-the-loop sign-off becomes the ultimate premium luxury in business, what happens to the companies 5 years from now who automated away all their junior talent today?
That is a scary thought.
If you use AI to replace all your entry-level analysts right now just to save a few dollars, where do tomorrow's senior, culturally fluent human experts even come from?
Yeah, you might be automating away your future trust builders.
Exactly. Something to mull over as we wrap up. That closes our discussion for today. Thank you for listening to Branch Out by Y Consulting, where we examine the signals shaping business across Southeast Asia. Keep watching the signals. We'll speak with you again in the next episode.